Hello everyone, my name is Gus and this is Dive Talk Plus. We will be doing a full review of the Symbios computers, not just the handset, but also the heads-up display or HUD, the Symbios HUD, and also the transmitter. I don't know if it's called the Symbios transmitter. I assume it is called the Symbios transmitter, or if you're British, the Symbios transmitter. I don't know what they call it. Symbios in England, but they like to call things the wrong way, like aluminum and Z, the letter Z. Anyway, that it's wrong. Don't say Symbios. It's called the Symbios. So anyway, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, Halcyon reached out and they said, look, we watched your review of the Garmin computer, the X50i, and they liked the review because they saw that it was unbiased. You know, we talked about the computer, everything we liked about it, everything we didn't like about it, who should buy it, recommendations, all that stuff. And then they said, can we send you our latest computer, the Halcyon Symbios, all three parts, the HUD, the handset, and the transmitter, and can you test it and make a review about it? And I said, absolutely. So this review, by the way, is not a technical review. I don't care how many grams it weighs. I don't really care that much about the size in terms of how many millimeters in the screen or, pitches of, who cares? This is about diving, right? As a diver, what are the things that I care about? And the first thing I'm going to talk about is price, because all of us are in the market for the best bang for the buck. And when it comes to computers, there's a ton of competition in the market. Halcyon is stepping into a market that is, I don't want to say saturated. I think competition is a good thing. I think that having companies compete with each other will only push technology forward and will make people innovate and will give us as divers more options and better prices. So yeah, I'm all for more competition coming in, but where will Halcyon fit when it comes to huge staples in the business like Shearwater? And I'm going to be comparing it with the Shearwater Petrel 3, which is basically the tip of the spear when it comes to computers on the Shearwater side. I'm comparing it to the Petrel 3 and not a cheaper option like the Tern or the Peregrine, which are cheaper options from Shearwater, because that is capability to capability, right? It's the Halcyon computer is a fully technical computer that pulls no punches. Like everything you want to do as a recreational or as a tech diver, you can do with the Halcyon Symbios, and the same with the Petrel 3. So that's why I'm comparing it to it. And of course, the computer that inspired Halcyon to reach out, the X50i from Garmin, is their flagship computer. They're technical, you can do anything type of computer from Garmin. So I'm going to be comparing it with those two. Having said that, there's a ton of other options, right? You have Aqualung with their I think what's it called? The i770 or something like that. You have Mares with their giant screen TV IMAX computer, which I think is called the Aladdin. You have Scuba Pro has a computer as well. Maybe Scuba Pro is the one that is called Aladdin. I'm not sure. I know that Apex also has a computer that looks gorgeous, by the way. I haven't tried it. Apex, if you want me to try it and review it, just like these other ones, send us one and we'll do it for you for free. And then also, Suunto has computers like the Eon Core computer, for example, which again looks gorgeous. So there's a ton of computer manufacturers and companies that are coming in with new computers all the time. So I don't want to say that these are the only three, but these are the top dogs. To be honest, like the last time I saw someone on a boat not diving a Shearwater or a Garmin, like I'm talking about people with top of the line computers, I can't remember the last time. Everyone has either a Shearwater or a Garmin. Most people have Shearwater, to be fair. Although Garmin is or was, I'm not sure, gaining ground on that flagship level computer. Obviously, when it comes to cheaper computers, there's a ton of options out there. And by the way, again, if you don't like dragged out conversations or whatever, this video is not for you. There's a shorter version of the review, which is on the main Dive Talk channel. I'm going to leave it up here if you want to go ahead and check it out, because this one is no script, just me talking for for as long as it goes. I don't know how long this is going to be, an hour, maybe. We'll see when we're done with it. But I did write some things because I didn't want to miss anything. So again, price. Number one, how much is it? Well, the Halcyon handset, this thing right here, is $1,200, which sounds like a lot of money. But when you compare it to the Petrel 3, the Petrel 3 is $1,350, so $150 more than. And by the way, I'm just rounding up. Like this may be, I don't know, $1,195 or whatever. I call that $1,200. This may be $1,349 or something. I don't know. I'm calling it $1,350. So I'm just rounding it, because if you and I were talking at a bar or something, I'm not gonna tell you it's $1,195 plus tax. No, I'm just gonna be, it's $1,200. So that's what this review is about. That's why you're here, because you like that I'm treating you like we're peers at a bar just talking. So $1,200, $1,350 for the Petrel 3, and the X50i, this thing right here from Garmin, is $1,500. Again, $1,499, $1,490, I don't care. $1,500 for the Garmin computer. So this one, in terms of that flagship level computer, is the least expensive one. It's not inexpensive. It's not a cheap computer, especially when you know that Shearwater, for example, offers other computers that are pretty capable. Perhaps they don't do everything you can do with the Petrel 3, but they are less expensive. By the way, I don't know how much of this is public knowledge, but I'm going to spill the beans regardless. Halcyon is coming with a cheaper version of this computer. It's called the blue version. It may be out already. If you're watching this, I don't know when you're watching, but when I'm recording it, it's not public knowledge. But, you know, here, breaking news, whether they like it or not. So blue version of this computer, and it will be about $200 less. So they probably, if I had to guess, again, I don't know the information, I would say they're probably going to price it at like $995, if I had to guess. If I'm right, leave a comment below being like, Gus, you're a genius. So I don't know. But I'm guessing it's below $1,000. If I was a marketer and I sold Halcyon, that's probably the price point that I would go for. So for less than $1,000, I'm going to call it $1,000. For $1,000, you can get a Symbios handset, which is pretty cool. It will be the blue version. Why blue? I don't know why blue, but it's cheaper because it doesn't support CCR, rebreathers. So if you're a diver and you will never get into rebreathers, but you want to get into trimix and you want to do deep dives and you want to have 7 different gases, whatever, for decompression and staging and whatnot, the blue version will work for you. It's just the hands, they call this, by the way, the silver version. Fun fact. Inside joke. I don't know if it's an inside joke, but whatever. The code of this computer, the handset that I'm holding, is called the silver version. There's almost nothing silver in this thing except for the logo, the Halcyon logo. Let me put it right there. And the screws, I guess. And I asked, why not call it the black version? Apparently, there is a military version that is completely blacked out. And that's the black version. So now I want a black version. It's the only thing I can think of is I want a black one. It doesn't do anything extra, I don't think. And if it does, please leave it in and send me one, whatever that is. But yeah, the black version is the military version. The silver version, which is still black, is the fully capable Halcyon Symbios handset. And then the blue version is the no CCR, no rebreather version, which is cheaper. So I assume they're going to compete against the Perdix, I guess, from Shearwater, which is at a lower price point, but still very capable. Maybe that's where they're going with it. But anyway, nonetheless, super impressive for some company that comes out with their very first attempt at a, some people call saturated, very mature market, which is dive computers. Nailed it. Awesome. Really, really cool. So lower price than other comparable competitors that are already in the market and the people are buying like crazy. Solid. I mean, I'll give it to you. Halcyon. Awesome job. When it comes to the transmitters, oh, by the way, let's talk about the HUD. Just the HUD pricing, because Garmin doesn't have a competitor for this, but Shearwater does. Their computer is called the Nerd 2. Right now, at least the Nerd 2. Maybe by the time you're watching this, Nerd 3 will be out. Nerd 4, who knows. But the computer from the option from Shearwater, the Nerd 2, it comes in two versions. So it comes the standalone like this, and then the 4-pin, which is the one you connect to the rebreather. That is over $2,000. So it's a lot more expensive. This one right here is $1,350, which is the same price of the Petrel 3 without the 4-pin, just the regular wireless standalone Petrel 3. So less expensive for a HUD, for a heads-up display, and it's a fully capable computer. So everything I'm going to talk about in terms of capabilities, it's the same for the handset or the HUD. There's no difference. Which is the same, by the way, when it comes to Petrel 3 and Nerd from Shearwater. They both do the same. So they're both fully capable computers, just a different form factor and a different experience for the user, because one sits right by your eye, the other one sits on your wrist or whatever, your arm. So $1,350, I just wanted to mention that. The transmitters, which are, I mean, you've seen it. You've seen transmitters before. This is the Shearwater version. It's called the Swift transmitter, at least the version they have right now. I don't know if they're working on another one. It's always hard to do these reviews because you could be watching this 6 months from now and be like, Gus, all this stuff is old. Who knows? But anyway, August 2025, that's when I'm doing this. And this is the Garmin one. So you have the 3 transmitters there. I'm struggling to hold them, but that's what you have. The transmitter is $400 if you buy it alone. But right now, at least in August of 2025, if you buy it with a computer, you get a deal. You can have it for $250. $400 for the Swift transmitter, no promotion. Again, maybe Shearwater will introduce a promotion. And I feel like in the past they've had it. They have had a promotion where if you buy the computer and the transmitter, you get a break. Right now, forget it. You get a Petrel 3 and a transmitter, you're paying $1,750. $1,350 for the computer, $400 for the transmitter, and smile. Which you will, because it's solid. It's awesome. The Garmin Highway Robbery, $500. So it's $100 more than the other transmitters from Swift. From Shearwater, which is the Swift, and the Halcyon Symbios transmitter. I want to talk about transmitter capabilities really quick. But before I do that, really quick, I just wanted to reiterate, these are top-of-the-line computers, not to be compared with $160 Mars Pucks or whatever. These are, you can do everything with them. Side mount, back mount doubles with decompression gases, trimix, deep diving. So anything you want to do as a tech diver or as a recreational diver, these computers will do. I did find something that was interesting, which is on the back, and it's very hard to read. But this guy, where is it? If I can find it. Yeah. So it says water resistant to 100 meters, the Halcyon handset, which I think is interesting that they don't advertise you can go deeper than that. I know people that have taken it deeper than 100 and it's been fine. The transmitter has been fine and all of that has been fine. Now I know that Halcyon, it's going to say 100 meters certified too. We do that with the Go. If you buy the rebreather, the Dive Talk Go Plus with the extension ring, you can go to 100 meters. Does that mean that the rebreather is going to implode if you go to 101? No, of course not. We tested too much deeper than that in order to feel comfortable certifying it to 100. I assume this is the same with the Halcyon Symbios. They probably tested this thing to 250 meters or something like that. Over 330 feet is 100 meters. So they probably went to, 800 feet or something. Computer was fine, so they certified it to 100. That's my guess. Don't take my word for it. I don't work for Halcyon. They didn't tell me what to say, obviously, because I'm all over the place. But computer is solid. So all the features are capable. Now let's talk about the transmitters, because what do you get for $400 with the Shearwater Swift transmitter? Well, you get air integration. It reports your air. And it also has an LED which tells you the battery status on it. That's basically what you get. I will say that the design on the Swift, some people may say is uglier than the other ones. I actually think it's very functional because it allows you to secure your hand on it and tie it. Whereas the Halcyon is a lot more, and you can hear it, ASMR, scuba style. It's harder to, you can slip, like if you're wet or whatever, it can be slippery. you probably shouldn't be using your hand for it. I assume Halcyon will probably say no. I haven't read the manual on any of this, by the way. Again, I'm a technical figure of, trustworthiness in terms of, how do you call this? Not trustworthy. That's not the word I was looking for. Yeah, I'm not the most technical guy when it comes to, all this stuff, just reciting stuff straight from the manual. This is just you and me talking. So, obviously, you have the how do you call this? The threads or whatever. So you can put a key on that or a tool on that and tie in it. So maybe it's not made to do it with your hand, but I like the fact that the sheer water one you can do with your hand and hand tight and remove. And the design is very thought out to do that. The Halcyon is not as good as that, and the Garmin is almost completely, like, almost Teflon. Like, you can't, there's no traction on that. You're supposed to just use a tool for it. So take it for what you will. So again, with the Swift, you get air integration and an LED. With the Halcyon, you don't get an LED, but you do get, on top of air integration, you get the way you synchronize the transmitter to your computer is much easier. It's kind of, I call it like an Apple-like design in a way, where the computer will read around any transmitter in the area and tell you, is this your transmitter? And then you just say, yep, and it will synchronize to it. I love that. With Shearwater, if you've done it before, which if you're watching this review, there's a chance you have to manually visually read the code in your transmitter. You can see it right there in case you're not a diver and you've never seen it. You see 119 something 9594. That number you have to then go and input into your computer to tell it that that is your transmitter. There's no ease of use or I found one, is this by any chance your transmitter type of experience, which is what you get with Halcyon. I love that. I love the fact that it's easy to pair. And in addition to having air integration, it also has a trim sensor. That's kind of cool. But if you know the relationship between Halcyon and GUE, which is a DIR agency, Global Underwater Explorers. DIR is called Doing It Right. It's an agency that focuses on improving your skills as a diver and really helping you, dive on that perfect trim position, and, your skills and safety will improve because of it. They embedded a trim sensor into these transmitters, which is pretty cool. So if you're out of trim and you have the trim sensor on, you can turn it off. You don't have to use it. But if you have it on, and you calibrate it before your dive, because that is, I guess you have to do it before your dive because it's based on where you have it in your tank. So like with your tank and your BCD, what is perfect trim? What is vertical trim? So you have to do horizontal and vertical. There's a calibration process that you have to go through it. But once you tell it, then if you're out of trim, your computer will tell you what's your trim, which is kind of cool if you like that. But anyway, it does more than air integration. It also has a trim sensor, which I thought it was pretty cool. And in the same vein with air integration, there's a couple of other capabilities that are available with the Symbios that were very well thought out and maybe useful or not, depending on who you are. So one of the things that I think the Halcyon Symbios transmitter is very similar to the Shearwater and other transmitters, by the way. Aqualung Cells transmitter, Oceanic Cells transmitters, and they're all based on kind of the same technology. I'm not saying that they use the same technology, the Symbios and the Shearwater use the same technology. I'm not really sure if they use the same or not, but the results for the diver, which is what I care about, are the same, which is very, very short range of communication, meaning it will work for you. You have a transmitter in your tank. On your first stage, it will communicate with your computer or with your HUD, and you have about 2 meters, I would say. Maybe less, maybe 1 meter. I think reliable 1 meter, semi-reliable 2 meters. That's the experience I have with both Shearwater transmitters and Halcyon. So the experience, even if the technology is not the same, again, I don't know whether the technology is the same or not, the results for the diver are the same, which is for you, if you're within 3 feet, 1 meter, 3 to 4 feet, you're fine. You can read your air pressure. Everything is good. If you're beyond that, 6 feet, 7 feet, maybe without obstacles is not the best. If you want to go beyond that, you have to get into Garmin. Garmin resolved that. All right. And I talked about it on the Garmin review. They fixed that with their transmitter by communicating via sonar. So, and that's something that if you want to go far, you have to use sound. There's no radio waves transmission or whatever that is reliable to go far. We're talking like 100 feet, like 30 meters. If you want to go that far, you have to use sonar. And Garmin does that. So they solved the problem of the range by introducing an obnoxious, impossible to get over sonar beep that goes on every few seconds. And it's super annoying. Like, I don't care. I know Garmin fans come, and I am a Garmin fan. I wear the Descent Mark III more than any other watch. I wear almost every day, if not every day. So I like Garmin. I'm not a Garmin hater. However, this is one of those things that I don't think I'll ever get over. Like, it's one of those things that they never fix. Again, I go into details with that on my Garmin review, which I'll link at the end of this episode if you haven't seen it. But I don't like that. So it's cool to have the range. It's cool that your buddy could be 50 feet away and you can still see their air pressure in your computer. I like that. But the fact that you have a chirp and they have to have a chirp so your computer can hear their sound, like, bro, no. Like, I don't like that at all. But anyway, that's just my opinion. And everything in this video is just my opinion. So the range on the Garmin is great. Range on the Halcyon is not great. Range on the Shearwater is not great. However, Halcyon did come up with some features that leverage the fact that your transmitters send your air pressure out. They transmit it out, again, 4 feet to 6 feet, 1 meter to 2 meters, not a lot, but they will transmit her out. And that is a buddy screen. You can enable a buddy screen on the settings and come close to your buddy and it will tell you what their air pressure is, which is pretty cool. And if you are an instructor and you have 3 or 4 students diving with you without configuration, because that's another thing that you have to do in the Garmin. In order to get the air pressure from your buddy, you have to enter their information into your computer. You have to say, okay, Gus's transmitter is this, Woody's transmitter is that, Terry's transmitter is this. Like, you have to go and configure each transmitter so the computer knows whose pressure is what. With the Halcyon, you don't have to do any of that. You just enable buddy mode. And if you get close enough to another transmitter, that's the beauty of the simplicity, the Apple-like behavior that I talked about. It will just tell you, hey, the person you're close to has X amount of gas left. And then you swim to another one and bang, this person has another. I love that. I think that's cool. Is it useful? I don't know. That's yet to be seen. I haven't used the capability. I haven't had the need. I just look at my buddy and what's your air pressure? And they'll just tell me. I think, to me, it's hard for me to get over that, but I can see why, if you're an instructor and you're in a closed group, 3, 4 students, whatever, you can quickly bang, 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 see everybody's pressure without asking them. I prefer to ask them. I don't know. It's not as useful as some other people make it out to be, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. It's not as useful as other people make it out to be, just like I didn't think the Garmin communication capabilities were as useful as they think it is. But I think that the fact that they thought of a way to do something else with this technology, I love that, right? Let's squeeze as much as we can out of the technology. I love that. So kudos. Like, cool. Buddy screen, cool. I hope some people use it and is useful for them. I personally didn't think it was super useful, but I like the fact that it's in there, and Shearwater doesn't have anything like that. So that's one way to think about it. With Shearwater, you can add multiple transmitters, but again, it's created mainly from the perspective of you as a diver. So let's say you're diving side mount, you have 2 tanks, 1 transmitter on each tank, then you put 2 on your computer, and your computer will tell you the air pressure on both. And if you dive in side mount mode, then it will alert you when to switch from one tank to another. So that's what the multi-transmitter functionality is supposed to resolve. Could you, in theory, give your buddy a transmitter and program it in your computer as your own? And that way, when you get close to them, you can see it. Yeah, you can kind of achieve the same without enabling buddy screen, but that's not really the purpose of it. I think that buddy screen is a better thought out experience, in my opinion. I also like the fact that they put an altimeter on the computers. So if you're diving at altitude, you're in a lake somewhere or whatever, the computer will know that you're at altitude, and then it will adjust based on that. That's cool. I think that the Symbios ecosystem is going to grow and get better and better. There is conversations on how the computers will be able to talk to other Symbios equipment or other Symbios devices, such as the Symbios rebreather, for example, which is not out yet. If Halcyon ever comes out with, for example, a Symbios DPV, then it will talk to that. If they come out with whatever other technology you can think of, like maybe they put it in lights where the light will tell you how much battery you have left on the computer. I think that is a double-edged sword. I like the idea that you have this ecosystem, or like perhaps have like a buoy, like the way Garmin does it, where you can talk to the boat and your computer talks to the boat and maybe reports to the boat how much gas you have left. And like imagine if on a boat you have like a command center with a screen and it shows you, let's say, your 10 divers that are diving off the boat and everybody's air left. Like that would be cool. Or deco time or whatever it is. Yeah, that sounds like a dream for a captain or whatever to be able to have that level of clarity and information. I don't know if this is the future. I hope it is. That sounds cool. But the point is, the computer is meant to grow. The ecosystem is meant to grow as we go, like with the future. It's kind of a future-proofing technology that they're building on that. I like that. That's kind of cool. But at the same time, I feel like it's a double-edged sword because the more the computer is staying on top of, so imagine you're getting your air pressure, your rebreather's PO2 level, your DPV's battery level, your actual light's battery left. Like how much battery, how much is it going to last if it's monitoring all those things? I assume it has to affect performance, right? I mean, the battery performance, the more stuff you're capturing, the more the computer is processing stuff, the more the sensors are capturing information, that's going to affect your battery life. I will talk about battery life in a second. I want to move on to talk about the HUD for a second, the heads-up display, and that's because I wasn't super impressed with the easy, the freedom to use it or how easy it is to set this up. Now, the computer is a fully capable computer, so setting it up is as easy as this one, as the handset. That's not a problem. The thing for me is mounting it. That was a problem for me. And when I talked to Halcyon before they send me the computers and stuff, and Woody also received the same kit, they asked me which mask do I dive with. And I told them I use the Poseidon Black Line mask. That is a mask that I bought a long time ago, and I discover I can dive with my beard. Don't have to do anything to it, and it just doesn't flood. I have no idea how it works, how they did it, how they resolved it. Maybe it's a compound in the skirt of the mask. I have no idea. But one of the questions I get the most is, how do you not flood your mask with your beard? The mask. The mask is the secret. It fits my face. Woody tried it because I told him that it didn't flood with my beard. He bought one, floods immediately. So it's based on your face shape or whatever. Seems like Poseidon, like it was like they took a 3D scan of my face and made a mask perfect for it. So anyway, that's the mask that I used to dive. That mask happens to be a frameless mask, which the HUD doesn't mount to. So they said, well, that's not going to work, but we really want you to try it. So we're going to send you a frame mask. So here it is. They send me a Halcyon View, I think it's called. Halcyon View. And this one is a frame mask. Not only that, but it has a mount on the side. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can get it close here. Where you were allegedly able to mount the HUD. Again, I'm not a figure of authority, like super technical guy that knows how to do everything, but I would say I'm decent when it comes to setting scuba gear off, up, on and off, and I couldn't figure it out. There was also someone who had been diving the Halcyon HUD and the whole Symbios ecosystem for months at the meetup, which is where I tried this thing. I did 22 dives in 10 days, and they couldn't figure it out either. So if between the two of us, which are technical rebreather CCR cave divers couldn't figure this out, what are the chances that most recreational divers will be able to figure it out? I don't know. Maybe it's 100%. Maybe you think I'm a complete idiot. That's probably true. But I would say that more than just the two of us are going to struggle with mounting this thing. I couldn't figure it out. And if you notice my mask, I tried and tried. I scratched it trying to figure the right. I could not figure it out. I ended up using a mount. I think I have it right here. They include in the box this mount that is like a little like I don't know, like a parrot beak type of thing. And because I was desperate to try it, I promised them I was going to try it, and I did not want to, fall back in my promise. I mounted it in the skirt or on the skirt of my Poseidon Blackline mask. So I was able to mount it without breaking it, and I dove it for 3 dives, I believe, and then it just fell off because it's not supposed to be mounted on a frameless mask. So I get it. I wasn't even supposed to mount it. I was able to mount it, and I dove like 3 times. No complaints. Thing works great. But the fact that you have to decide whether you like your mask or not, because you have to have a special mask in order to dive the HUD, the heads-up display, I have a problem with that. I don't think that's right. You have your mask that fits you with beard, no beard, whatever, and you should be able to mount it into whatever mask you have. And that's where I think the Nerd 2 shines. The Shearwater Nerd, you can mount it on a helmet, with a GoPro mount. You can mount it on the DSV or the loop from your rebreather. Like, that thing can go anywhere. And I think one of the biggest reasons why you can do that is because of the ability to see the screen, the tiny screen. I'm going to turn this on to see if I can show you. I'm not always successful to show on the screen. Let me see if I can get it to work. Is this dead? I have another one. Let me see if I can find my other one. Here it is. I didn't charge it. Okay, so this one is turning on. So let me see if I can show you here. Can you see? No. You can see my hand, but you can't see the computer. Oh, man. Okay, you can kind of see it there. But you can see the inside of it. It's a fully capable computer, but in order to see that, the computer has to be really, really close to your eye, like that close. This is where I can kind of see the whole screen. And I don't know if you can see how close that is. And you can say, like, well, Gus, you have that amount of space, like 1 inch from it. But remember, I'm not wearing a mask right now. If I put a mask on, let me try the Halcyon one. Okay. So I have this on, and it's not tight. Okay, now it's tight. Okay. So now I can't. Okay. I think there's no room. Like, it's against glass. There's not a whole lot of space in order for me to see the screen inside the HUD. Whereas with a Nerd, I feel like you can have it this far from your face and still be able to see the inside. So I think it's way more expensive, but in terms of viewing angle and experience, the Nerd is better. I mean, it just is, okay? Just based on my experience. I did maybe 200 plus dives with a Shearwater Nerd 2, and I have no complaints. It's awesome. This one, I also have no complaints in terms of capabilities and ease of use and all of that. I love it, but mounting it on a mask, it was a disaster for me. You're watching this, you're a much better technical person, you are better with gear, maybe it's not an issue for you, and you're willing to change your mask if you use a frameless mask, have at it. Computer is awesome. Okay, so now let's get to the part that I thought was the best thing about the Halcyon Symbios handset and HUD. Before I get there, because I almost forget one information, size, because I think that's important for the divers, but not the size of the computer. The Halcyon is smaller than the other two. I'm just going to get that out of the way. It's thinner, smaller profile. Like if you see him compare, it's like half the thickness of it. It's super lightweight. Awesome. Don't know how many grams or whatever, ounces. Doesn't matter to me. They're all underwater. They all weigh basically the same. So the Halcyon screen is 2.4 inches. Okay. 2.4 inch display. It's not touch screen. It's just a display. Works great under sunlight. It works great inside wrecks or in caves or whatever. No complaints on the screen. Great job. But it is the smaller screen of the three. So the smallest one of the three. The Shearwater has a 2.6 inch screen. Beautiful colors. No issue there. Not touch screen either. The Garmin X50i has a 3-inch screen. Okay. So it's the bigger screen of the three. It is touch screen, which makes it easy when you're on the boat setting things up. It's really cool that you can just bang, 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 touch the screen instead of button, button, button. It has 4 buttons, so it has a back button, which I really like. On Shearwater, you're like going in loops forever. With a Halcyon, you can go up and down, back and forward, so it's a better experience, but it's still just 2 buttons. The buttons are, you press them. There's a spring in them, which is really useful, which is like the Garmin buttons. The ones on the Shearwater are just a touch button. I don't remember the exact name of those buttons, but they don't press up and down. But anyway, I have no complaint with the buttons, but only 2. The Garmin has 4 buttons, but it has the touch screen. So I think the experience to work on the computer itself, the bigger screen and the fact that it's touch really adds up. But again, you're paying a premium for those capabilities. So that's one thing to think about. So now that I got that out of the way, the size of the screen, let's talk about my favorite thing with the computer, which is CCR mode. Why is it my favorite thing? Well, because it converted me. It converted me from the hesitation of having the partial pressure of oxygen reported wirelessly to a computer to being a total believer and don't want to go back to wire. What I mean by that is, if I'm diving on a rebreather, until now, I almost dropped the Garmin. Sorry, I'm grabbing the Petrel 3 wired. This is what a monitoring system for a rebreather looks like. This is a Petrel 3 4-pin. All right, let me show you the 4 pins. 4 pins, and it hooks up to your rebreather. So you have a female 4-pin on your rebreather, and you bring in the male, bang, you connect them together, and now you get the partial pressure of oxygen detected by the sensors. This is what a rebreather sensor looks like, just so you see, okay? And the sensor will send an electric current to the computer to tell it, this is how much oxygen I'm detecting in the loop, and your computer will respond by telling you your PO2 is whatever, 0.9, 1.2, 1.1, whatever the number is. All right, so that's how it works. I was skeptical of wireless when it comes to reporting PO2. I was like, look, it's so important that you know your PO2. It's actually rule number 1 of rebreather diving. Know your PO2. So I wanted to test it. I'm like, I'm going to test it just to see. So Halcyon makes a CCR transmitter that looks like this. And it's also 4-pin. Look, same 4-pin. So now, instead of having the wire connected to the computer, I plug the 4-pin into the rebreather, and now I have a transmitter. So it's wireless communication to my computer, just like air integration is, but now it reports my PO2. Again, first dive, shallow. Let me see how I feel about this. And I'm being coached by people who have been doing this for months. They're super confident. All they use is wireless PO2, but I am me. I want to try it myself. So I'm going to just take it easy. I took it easy the first dive. I took it semi-easy the second dive. By dive number 3, I was in love with it. I couldn't imagine going back to wire. I mean, I absolutely love wireless PO2 and the CCR capabilities of the Halcyon Symbios handset and HUD. I just love it. I'm going to name 3 things if I can think of great things about rebreather performance of the Halcyon Symbios computers. Number 1 is the wireless PO2. That's a given. Don't have to deal with the wire. How do I remove because the wire, it's never the perfect size. It's always too super long or super short. It's a pain, and it limits your mobility in your arm. It's just a pain. With this one, you don't have to worry about it because it's wireless. There's no wire involved. It's perfect, right, for diving. So I love that. But the second thing I really like about it is the fact that it shows only one number. Let me turn it on so I can show you. And it probably won't say anything because it's not connected to a rebreather right now. But if you notice, right here in the bottom of the screen, it says PO2. And it's only one number. Now, let's compare that with the Shearwater Petrel wired. All right. You see my wallpaper says Dive Talk. It has 3 numbers, right? It's reporting 0 because it's not connected to anything. So it's saying, hey, you have 0 oxygen, but that's because it's not connected to any sensors. Just like the PO2 in this one is not saying, it just says no CCR signal. So they both don't have signal. I only get 1 on this one, and I get 3 on the Shearwater. Now, you may be asking, but Gus, how many sensors are in the Go or the rebreather you're diving? The answer is 3. And you get 3 with Shearwater. You also get 3 with Halcyon, but only if you go to the next screen. You see PO2, PO2, PO2. You have the 3 numbers right there. Now, why would I get just 1 instead of 3? This is the genius of the Halcyon Symbios. Basically, what it is, let me turn the Shearwater off because it will vibrate the whole video if I don't stop it, because it's telling me like, oh, you're gonna die. You have 0. You can hear the vibration. It's super strong. In the Symbios, you get 1 number if your 3 sensors are reporting the same information, basically, or close to the same information. If all 3 sensors are reporting that your PO2 is 1.21, let's just say, or 1.19, whatever the number is, then you only get 1 number. It says PO2 is 1.19. If any of your sensors are acting up, not reporting correctly, doesn't agree with the other ones, then your computer will immediately switch to 3, like Shearwater, right? So you get 2 pieces of information for the price of 1. You get your PO2, plus you get to know that your 3 transmitters are working correctly because you see 1 number. So it's simple to me that I see just 1 number, 1.2. Great, that's my PO2. And at the same time, because I see 1 number, I know my 3 sensors are working fine. It's awesome. It's genius. I love it. I was skeptical because I've been looking at 3 numbers. I don't know how many rebreather dives at this point. If I would say 400 to 500 between all the 4 units that I dive 4 different rebreathers. I would say about 500 dives between all 4. Always have done 3 numbers on the screen. Now I switch to 1. Very skeptical at first. Love it now. Love it. I mean, I really, really love it. Then there are a couple of other things. So that was thing number 2. Let's talk about another thing I like on CCR mode. Actually, I'll say 2 more things that I like about CCR mode. How easy it is to bail out. You basically hold down this button at the bottom if you need to bail out, which is something that you do when you're learning how to dive a rebreather a million times during the class. We teach you how to deal with emergencies, and one way we deal with an emergency is we bail out to open circuit. That's the way rebreathers work. So let me show you how it looks like on a Shearwater. So we're diving rebreather mode. You see it says CC there. So what you have to do is, because we only have 2 buttons, one on this side and one on this side, okay? We have to cycle through menus here to find, okay, I went the wrong way. So you press the wrong button, and then you go back, and then you press the other button, and at some point there, I missed it. So now I have to go around. There's no back on the Shearwater. So I have to go around. Where it is? Come on. Switch CC to BO. That is closed circuit to bail out. Then you press the right button. Bang. Now it says BO. See? At the bottom. You bail out. So now if I want to switch back, let's say I figure out what my problem was with my rebreather. Maybe I needed to throw up. So I switched to open circuit to throw up. And now I want to go back in the unit. Now I have to go back. Where is it? And I went the wrong way again. So now I have to go back the other way. You see my point? It's a pain. It's not easy. I'm pressing multiple times to get there. And finally, I'm back in CCR mode. Now, look, to be fair, underwater, which is something I'm going to talk about as something I also like about Halcyon. I like it better than what Shearwater does. Underwater, they simplify the menus. It's not as many clicks, but it's still several clicks. It's click, 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 click. So you know, I don't know how many times, 4, 5, 6. If you know the perfect combination, you can do that within 5 seconds or less. It's super easy to do it. With the Halcyon, you just hold the button down, the bottom button. Literally, you just underwater, hold it for like a second and a half or whatever. It just says, now you're in Bailout. And you want to go back to a rebreather, hold it down. Now you're back in rebreather mode. It's awesome. It's genius. It's what I love about the buttons that are not tactile or whatever pressure buttons like the Shearwater, is that you can do things like that. There's a difference between pressing a one and holding it down and all of that. And you're not prone to do it accidentally because the buttons have pressure on them. They have a spring on them. Is that I can hold it down and bail out. It's awesome. That's an emergency feature. And if you're in a real emergency, the last thing you need is, what's the proper combination? Like you were playing Mortal Kombat and the finish him comes on and you're like, okay, back, down, B. Like, why do I have to have this crazy combination to bail out? It should be the easiest, simplest thing ever. And you cannot make it simpler than holding a button down. That's awesome. I love that. Could you accidentally bail out? I would say yes, but it wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be easy to accidentally bail out. However, when you bail out, the computer vibrates on you. And like, if you do it accidentally, like, I don't know how you're diving and you just hold a button and you do it, it will vibrate. And then you're like, oh, I'm an idiot. And then you press it back and go back. But it's not, I didn't do it once. I don't know if anybody has done it. So it's awesome. I love that. The last thing that I love about CCR mode, and this applies to all diving, not just CCR mode, is the fact that the entire menu is available underwater. I love that. Shearwater gives you a simplified menu when you're underwater. Just the things that they agreed that should be relevant when you're underwater, right? Do you have to change the date and time right now? No, just leave it, right? So I see their point of view of, if you're underwater and you have to go through stuff, let's just remove the fat, right? Let's just remove the stuff that you shouldn't need underwater whatsoever and give you a simplified menu. That's a good approach. The Symbios went the other way. They said, if you have to do something on the settings, who cares if you're underwater? Just go and do it. For me, and the reason why I talk about this on the rebreather side, when you rebuild your rebreather, you have a timer on the computer that tells you how long you've been using the sorb, the absorbent, the chemical that scrubs out the CO2 out of your breath, how long you've been using that. Depending on the unit and how much you use, you will have different ratings. The Go, for example, is rated for 2.5 hours, right? So you will be able to dive for 2.5 hours, and then you're supposed to replace the sorb. Some units will have more than that. The Go Plus, for example, with the ring goes 6 hours. So the point is, when you're building your unit and you have new sorb, you tell your computer, hey, by the way, I just have new sorb. You can go for 6 hours or 2.5 or whatever hours you set. In the Halcyon, you have a CCR timer, so it keeps track of that. On the Shearwater, it's called the stack timer. Who cares the name? They both do the same thing. The problem comes when you forget to reset it, which happens a lot. Happens a lot for a variety of reasons. Sometimes your computer, let's say, is in your room charging, which happened to me. That's how I forgot it. I have a checklist where it says reset stack timer. My checklist still with Shearwater terminology, but I know what it means. Reset stack timer as part of the steps when I rebuild a unit. However, my computer was charging in my room. So I'm like, I'll just do it later. Later means I showed up on the boat. I jump on the water. 10 minutes into the dive, it says, hey, by the way, you're approaching your CCR timer. You're running out of time. Oh, no, I built it yesterday. My time is new. On the Halcyon, settings, CCR timer, reset, bang. Brand new, 2.5 hours, 6 hours, whatever the time it is. On the Shearwater, you're done. If you forget to reset your stack timer, you're going to have to wait until the dive is over, and the computer will be vibrating and warning you the whole dive. On a rebreather dive that you're doing for 2 hours long, bro, there's no way to stop. It just keeps going on and on and on. And I think you can like time it out for 5 minutes. You can say like, okay, just let me be for 5 minutes. But imagine every 5 minutes for 2 hours, it's just reminding you your stack timer alert, stack timer alert, stack timer alert. Oh, it's crazy. So this is one of the pieces of feedback that I gave Shearwater. It's like, just at least give us the option. Like put it in the settings where you're like, full menu available underwater, disabled by default. And then you can come in the advanced settings and enable it. No, now I want to enable it and I want to access everything. Just leave it up to divers. You know, why make the call and force people to not have all the menus? So that's one experience. Another thing that I like about the Halcyon handset that I really love, the fact that you have access to the full menu. All right, let's see. I want to talk about things I didn't like, because not everything about the computer is perfect. I'm a big fan of it. Obviously, it's clear that I'm a big fan of it. And by the way, if this is not clear from the beginning, Halcyon did not sponsor this episode. They did send us a computer for us to try. I think it's the least they can do. Hey, you want to review my stuff for free? Here's that stuff that you can review. They did send us a free computer, so thank you for doing that. But they have no say on my review or whatsoever. Like, I'm not giving them a heads up. This is me, no script. So, non-sponsored video by Halcyon. I want to talk about the things I didn't like about it. Again, keep in mind, this is version 1 of this computer. First time they've released it to the market and they come out with a banger. So I want to talk about the things I didn't like. Right off the back, don't like the battery. Built-in battery, I don't want to say is the worst, because if we are going to talk about what's the worst, Garmin X50i, its battery is the absolute worst thing I've ever used on any dive computer ever. It's just terrible. And I went into lengths with examples and things on my Garmin review, which again, I'll link at the end of this video. But the Halcyon is not great either. So the official rating on the computer or on the Halcyon website or manual or whatever, I believe is, I remember it because the numbers are easy, 525. So 5 times 5 equals 25. So with the brightness on 5, it will last 25 hours of diving. If you dive an hour, just to simplify each dive, and you're on a liveaboard and you're doing 4 hours a day, 4 dives a day, it will last you 6 days. I mean, a whole week of diving. That seems super solid if you're on brightness number 5, which goes up to 10. Okay, so you're in the middle level of brightness, it will go to 25 hours. I dive it super bright. I like it super bright. I think most divers like it super bright. So it all depends. If you're on level 8, level 9, level 2, like your battery will go up and down. Now, also, I assume that this will be affected by how many transmitters you are transmitting with your computer and stuff like that. That will also have an effect on the life of the battery. But I will say, just for simplicity, 25 hours on 5. My experience, it went about half of that. So 8 to 10 hours. It's what I could get reliable. Now, if I let it die completely, it would have done 12, 13, 14 hours. I don't know. But I had it super bright, set to super bright. But I was doing rebreather dives. So 2-hour long dives, 2+ hours long dives. And I could get like 4 days of diving with that. So 8. And I would do a dive in the afternoon, which is typically open circuit. So I was mixing rebreather, open circuit. I wanted to test it in every way. So I would say I probably got about 12 hours of diving before the computer was about 15% and I wanted to charge it. I didn't want to let it die all the way, because the last thing I need is a computer dying on me in the middle of a dive. That's the dumbest thing ever. It's very irresponsible. So by the time it got to like 10 or 15%, I went ahead and charged it. That was in like day 4 of 10. Now, I think I dived it. I think I charged it again like 2 days later or whatever when it was at 50%. So every time it got to 50%, I would just charge it again and again and again. The problem with that is a lot of you guys, and I'm going to include myself too in the process, and Woody and everyone else, you're not on top of charging all your stuff all the time. So the problem with that is you show up to your boat, you show up to your liveaboard, you show up whatever, and you realize your computer is at 5%. or 0%. You forgot to charge it and you haven't dived it in 2 months and now the computer is dead. Now what? What's your option? Well, if you had a Shearwater Petrel 3, number one, it uses a field replaceable AA battery. So you just ask somebody, hey, who has a battery? Somebody will have it. Maybe you on your Safe a Dive kit, you should have one. But you basically go unscrew this cap right here, bang, put another AA battery, and now you have a computer that will dive for approximately 89 years. Because the battery in this thing lasts forever. Months and months and months and months and months and months of diving. There's no way that you can put a AA battery in a Shearwater computer like a Petrel or a Perdix and do a week live aboard and then it's dead. No, it will just go forever and ever and ever. I don't know how they do it, but their AA battery performance is second to none. It's unbelievable. With a Halcyon, if you forget to charge it, oops, you just forgot to charge it. And the problem is that the charger, I don't know if I have one here. Let me see if I have one to show you. What is this? I'm just pulling random cables. Yep, this is the charger for it. Look how non-standard, where are you? This charger is. It's like 2 lines and 4 pins and a magnet. So it's not like it's USB-C where you can be like, well, luckily I have my phone charger. Let me just plug it in. No. Or, oh, I'm on the car driving. It's USB-C. Let me just really quickly. No. You have to have that special charger, which, by the way, I don't get it. Like, the magnet on this thing, if it sticks to something metal, like I'm going to stick it right here on my soundboard. I know it's off screen. You can't see it, but you heard that, how loud that is and how hard it is to unhook it. When you put it on the computer, which, by the way, you have to line perfectly. Look, 2 fingers. I'm going to line right there. It clicked perfectly. Look. It's like it comes out so easily. I am not a big fan of the charger. I don't know what can Halcyon do to fix that, to be honest. It's not easy to change hardware like that, but I don't get it. The charger part of the Halcyon is probably the worst thing about the whole computer is the charging experience. I don't like it at all. At least with the Garmin, it's also it's not a magnetic charger, but it uses like it's like like a crimping thing. It hangs on like a clothing pin type of thing. It's like it goes in and you can move the computer. You can actually hold it by the cable and it won't come off. Like that's one thing. I think the only thing perhaps the Garmin is better than the Halcyon handset is the charging experience is better. You still need a special charger. It's not like you can plug a USB-C on it. So it's not like they have that going, but at least it won't come off accidentally. I feel that with the Halcyon, if you remember to bring that in your car, you plug it in, you go over like a speed bump and it will just come off. It's just not great. So I'm not a big fan of that. The other thing I'm not a big fan of is the fact that you can only secure the computer with bungees. Look, I put orange bungees on mine to tell which one is mine. This is Woody's computer, but this is how it comes from the factory. And they do include bungee, black bungee, of course, for it. They should do silver. If you're going to call it a silver, put in silver bungee. But it's bungee only, right? It's a 5mm opening. You can thread the bungee in it, and then you can, have it, and you can slide it in your arm just like this, and then it will be sitting right there. The problem with that is that the bungee is a fixed length. And I get it. It doesn't get simpler than a bungee. Having a bungee on it is as simple as it gets. It's not going to break, and bungee could break, but... And the other thing with it is if you do get stuck or whatever, you can cut the bungee. So I can see the DIR philosophy behind the computer. That's where Halcyon comes from. I get it, guys. I'm not a hater on DIR. I'd do it with a bungee. But man, how awesome would it be if we included the option to add straps to it? That way, if you're diving it with a wetsuit or a dry suit or a rash guard or naked because it's your 100th dive, whatever, you can put it on. Look, I took these straps from a cheap computer. This thing right here, it's Aqua. It's brand new from a company called North Edge. I'll review it, I promise. They took me up on that. I always say, you want me to review your stuff for free, just send it to me. They did. But anyway, I took the straps out of it, and look how easy I feel like this could fit there. Like, it already has that groove. I don't know if you can see it. Like, I'll get closer. it has the groove there. Come on, right there, like, and it's through. Like, it has a hole that goes through it. So like you could put a long screw all the way and secure that. Because man, if you could add a strap to this computer just like that and put it over your arm with whatever suit you're wearing and just strap it, I think it would be a much better experience for some divers that are used to going from warm water, especially instructors, right? You're an instructor, you're in a pool, and then you're, on cold water perhaps, or in cold water. Like, the ability to go back and forward between them would be really useful, because with the bungee, if you make it tight enough, like I was in Roatan diving a 3 mil. I always dive with a dive suit no matter how warm the water is. But I had a 3 mil and the bungees were perfect for that. But then if I went to the springs to dive in the caves and I wanted to wear my dry suit, the bungees wouldn't even go over the wrist. Yeah, I feel like that was a big miss. But it's one of those things that you can probably fix easily. You just have to measure that opening there and come up with straps. And you can sell them additional as a kit. So imagine a little box. Like Shearwater sells their straps in different colors, by the way. That's another thing that you would get with this, is your customization. You no longer have to be just black or silver or blue. You can just sell straps in like 5 different colors. Imagine they come like 2 like that, or maybe 3 with a longer one for a dry suit or something, in a little box for like $30 or whatever. Like, give us the option. And I think it's one of those things that either Halcyon does it or somebody's going to come up with it, and they're going to sell. Whoever buys a Halcyon computer will be very short-sighted to spend $1,200 on a computer and skip on the $30 straps or whatever they cost. I mean, personally, I think they should sell it either separately or included with every computer. I would love the ability to have straps. No complaints, though, with the bungee. Really useful if you're always diving the same kind of suit and same conditions. Do that. And I'm sure there are people out there that will be like, well, you can have a bungee and just make a knot to make it tighter. But why, though? Like, straps are so ubiquitous. Like, a lot of computers come with straps. So I just don't see the point on forcing people to just using the bungees. I also didn't like the Deco screen. For those of you who are technical divers, the fact that you have to go away from the main screen of the Halcyon. So I'm going to just go right there to this screen. The bottom of the screen right here, which says SI for service interval, underwater would say Deco. And it would just tell you that your next Deco stop is at 50 feet or 60 feet, whatever it is. It will just say Deco at 50. But it won't tell me how much time I have of Deco. I have to click out of it. And I'll put a video here on the screen so you can see the Deco screen. And it will tell you the stops. It will say stop number 1 is here for this long, and stop number 2 is there for that long. And you could argue that if you're going to Deco, you should be on the Deco screen. But no, like I just want to be on my main screen where I can see my PO2 and I can see my whatever, my gases. And like I want to be on the main screen. I think that's one thing that Shearwater does better, which is on their main screen. I don't have to go to a Deco screen. On their main screen, it will say your stop is at 50 feet for 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes. It will do a countdown in minutes. I think Halcyon can go a step beyond that, and even at the seconds, like a countdown with seconds telling you on the main screen. And then if you want to go see how many stops you have for how long, all that stuff, you could go to the Deco screen. And even the Deco screen could give you information like, your next stop is at 100 feet for this many minutes on this gas. Then at 70 feet is for these many minutes on 50% oxygen. Like, based on the gases that you program into your computer, tell me how long the stop is and on what gas. Like, I get that. I like that on the Deco screen. But on the main screen, at least tell me how long this stop is for, right? I think that's an oversight, and I think they can add it. They can add it there. The other thing I didn't like about the computer, and I'll wrap up with this before I talk about who this computer is for and who should buy it. The other thing I didn't like about it is the fact that it doesn't have a power off option, or at least an easy way to do it. Maybe through the settings, I could power it off or whatever. But what he does is that it times out after a while. Like I'm gonna leave it here, and I'll talk until it times out. So after a few minutes, the computer will time out, and it will go into sleep mode. And in the settings, you have an option where you can set how long the computer will be in sleep mode. I think the default is like 45 minutes. But the computer is not off. It's still on. And for me, it's like, look, if you're going to leave it on, then at least give us something else to look at to do something with the computer. I suggested it to Halcyon, and whenever they come up with this version, you can thank me for that, because they thought it was a good idea. At least that's what they told me. Maybe they already thought of it. They were just being nice. But what I told him was, look, if my computer is sleeping, it's already asleep. I don't know how long that took. But if the computer is sleeping, right now it's in sleeping mode. It's not completely off. Can you, in like low voltage mode, almost no battery consumption, show me my surface interval? Because when you're on a boat, if you're a diver, you know this. When you're on a boat and you're between dives on your surface interval, everybody's asking, how long have we been out for? How long? Hey, how long? And what do you have to do no matter what computer you're using, basically, unless it's on already, like a shear water you just leave on, and you just, because the battery runs forever, who cares? Unless it's on already, you have to turn it on. You have to go and bang, press it, and then it goes back on, and then it will tell you your surface interval is X amount. So you're just sort of waiting, hold on, I'll tell you. And then you can be like, okay, we've been out for 42 minutes or whatever it is. Why not have like a little SI with a clock next to it, just counting how long your surface interval is? I think that would be cool. And maybe have a timeout of an hour or whatever. After an hour, it just goes away. I don't know. Like, give me some, if the computer is going to go to sleep instead of off to conserve battery, at least give me something to add, and maybe leave it as an option. But I would like to see an off button where, you know, sometimes you get to the surface of the water, you're in the ocean, you get to the surface, you have your SMB out, your surface marker buoy, you're just sitting there for the boat to pick you up. You can see them in the distance, like picking up other divers or whatever. Turn it off, right? I'm already at the surface, dive is over. Click, click, off, hold both buttons down, whatever option it is. I don't know how to do it, but add it so I can turn it off and conserve my battery. Personally, that's what I think we should have. Right now, it just wait until it times out. And when it times out, it's not really off. It's just sleeping, but it's not giving me any benefit. It's just going through the battery. Not as fast, of course, because the screen is off. I understand what sleeping function is. But like, if it gave me that information of the surface interval, that would be great. And I encourage every manufacturer to do that. Garmin too, or Shearwater too. Go off, but leave like a little, here's your surface interval. I think it will be pretty useful. So that was just one thing to add for sure. I will wrap this with the last thing that I like about Halcyon Symbios in general, and that is the app, the mobile app. The mobile app was great. Better than the apps from both Garmin and Shearwater. I think that there's room for improvement, and I will make some suggestions there. I actually make those suggestions to Halcyon already, and I think one of my suggestions, I'm not going to say which one, they said that they've already thought of, and they are working on a solution for it. So I didn't break the news, but I hope to see it in the future. But the app is magnificent. It's really awesome. It really enables two-way communication with the computer, whereas I feel like the Shearwater app is more of a one-way communication. And I get it. Like, don't blast me on the comments like, well, it's two ways. You can push firmware updates and you can change the wallpaper like you saw earlier with the Dive Talk logo on mine. But it's really a one-way communication. Is you turn it on, you synchronize your dive log from the computer so you can see it on your phone and send it to your friends or whatever, your dive profile and that kind of thing. That the profile of your dive, like that's what you get with Shearwater. It's more of a one-way communication. You download the data from the computer, you see it on your phone. That's it. Will they come up with a new version of it and I'll enable other things? I hope so, because Halcyon really hit it out of the park with this one. They did a fantastic job with the Halcyon app. Now, it has some features that I'm not sure are going to be super used. The app itself, like for example, in the app, there's a social component of it where you share your dives and information with other Halcyon divers. They're not necessarily your friends. So for example, I posted a short video of me diving it in CCR mode in Roatan, and people can like it and comment on the video, ask questions if they have to. I like that, but if you scroll down through the apps, at least right now, nobody's really commenting and talking about them. It's just more like people posting for no reason. Again, I would say that you have Instagram for that, or other apps for that, other social media, but I like the fact that they're trying to create a community, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't know if it's going to be super used, like as one of the features. But I'll tell you what will be super used is the ability to set everything up on the app and send that information to the computer. That is magnificent. I love that. I love the fact that I can go to my phone, which is a much better experience, touchscreen, massive screen in my iPhone Pro Max, and I can just go and be like, I'm diving in salt water. This is my gradient factor. These are the gases that I have. I just basically specify if it's CCR or side mount, open circuit, recreation, whatever it is. I can just enter all that information and then say load to device. My computer is set up and ready with all the stuff that I just did on my phone. Not only that, I'll do you one better. You can then save that to a library and have basically unlimited number of settings, which I call dive profiles. Have an unlimited number of profiles. What seems unlimited, maybe it's not. Maybe it's only 50 or whatever. But I saved like 10 and I could still keep going. And basically you're telling it, this is my side mount. For me, for example, I have 4 rebreathers. I can say this is my sidekick profile. This is my sidewinder profile. This is my Dive Talk Go profile. This is my Go Plus, profile. You can also name them whatever you want. So you can name them after dives, like Eagle's Nest, for example. This is my Oriskany profile. If there are dives rather that you do often, then you can enter that into your app and save it. So next time you're doing that dive, rather than go through all the process of setting this thing up exactly how you want it, you just say load from library, Eagle's Nest, bang, done. Your whole computer is set up, and yeah, maybe you have to go and adjust your gases. Like maybe you did Eagle's Nest last time, you had 1060 and now you have 1055 or whatever. Like your gas may be a little bit different, but the fact that it will do 99% of it, and you just have to go on the computer or even on the phone app and adjust a little bit and then push through the computer, it's invaluable. Like that is awesome. Beyond belief. For a diver, I think that's a huge improvement and better customer experience. I love it. I love everything about it. Again, it doesn't go without saying that there are some things that can improve on the app, and they are open ears. Like I had a conversation with Halcyon. I won't say, everyone who I've talked to at Halcyon, but I had a conversation with them and told them, for example, that I would love, as part of my profile or my libraries, to be able to connect equipment with those profiles too. Especially as Halcyon grows this Symbios ecosystem, I think it will be very useful for me to add, for example, invaluable transmitters, right? I don't want to be switching transmitters from one setup to another, right? My back mount doubles, for example, have a set of regulators that I don't use anywhere else. They are set up exactly how I like them on back mount doubles. In my manifold, exactly how I want them. So I want to buy a transmitter and put it on that thing, or 2 transmitters or whatever I want, and make that my permanent back mount double transmitters. So if I went to dive that and I went into my profile, I would like to just say, this is my back mount double profile. Just go, and the computer already know that, okay, these are the transmitters that he's going to use because they're in the back mount or whatever. Same with side mount. If you have a side mount set up and it's perfect for you, you buy transmitters for those, and then that's it. That's what you use for it. I would love to add equipment to it. Same thing if you have DPVs and lights and other things that you could attach to a profile and know that, hey, I'm doing a DPV dive at Genie Springs or whatever. Load that profile and he knows, okay, he's going to be on this DPV. He's going to have this light. He's going to have these transmitters. Like, have my equipment connected to that library entry in the settings. I think that's the next version. I think that is the vision, and I hope they go there because I think it will be really, really useful from the diver's perspective. Right now, we don't have that. It will load your gases and the type of water that you're diving, the type of diving that you're doing. It will load, things like that, but it doesn't know that you have these transmitters versus those transmitters. It doesn't do that yet. Again, August 2025. We'll see, a year from now, 2 years from now, what this app can do. But the fact that this is version 1 available to the public. I'm sure they've been doing this thing for years now, and it's like version 40 for them internally. But for us, the customers, this is version 1. I mean, can you think of another company that launched a product in the scuba industry that immediately went to rival the leaders of that industry? I can't. I can't imagine the last time that someone came out and immediately became the go-to thing. Like, I can't. I personally, now to wrap up the video, talking about who is this for, who should buy it, I think this computer, both the handset and the HUD, I think that they are for anyone who will either see themselves as someone who's starting in diving but will grow as a diver. So like, I'm an open water now, or I'm an advanced open water now, or a master diver, but I do want to become a side mount diver, or I want to become a technical diver and do those deep wrecks in Truck Lagoon, or like the person that wants to evolve, or dive rebreathers, cave diver, etc., that they know they have that philosophy in life like me. My life motto, if you know me, is everything in life worth doing is worth overdoing. So if you're like me and you are into diving and you say, look, I'm going to go as far as this thing goes, I want to keep learning, I'm going to go, all in when it comes to diving, this computer is for you, because it will work perfect for you as an open water diver, just doing recreational dives. And years from now, when you're a technical diver, GUE diver, ISC diver, cave diver, whatever it is, this computer will work for you as well. It will grow with you. The blue version, again, no CCR, so perhaps you may want to stay away from that. And to be honest, just between us, if you ask me, hey, I'm convinced I want to buy a Halcyon handset, which one should I get? I would say get the silver version, the $1,200 version, because it can include CCR. That way, if you want to do CCR someday, you'll have it rather than having to buy another one. So that's for you. And if you're a technical diver and you are looking for a computer that can support your current diving, as extreme as that may be, go ahead and get this thing. This thing is awesome. I will continue to dive it going forward. I appreciate, again, thank you, Halcyon, for sending us these computers for us to review, because now they'll become my main computer when it comes to rebreather diving. I love everything about it. And yeah, so I think this computer is for everyone. Now, again, there's always going to be people out there who don't believe in wireless communication. They don't believe that air integration should be a thing, or they don't trust it. Maybe it's not believing, it may be the wrong word, but they believe that is a thing, but they don't trust it. They're like, why would I go to air integration when I have an SPG? Why would I go to wireless PO2 monitoring on my rebreather when I have a wired, way more solid, way more trusting medium of communication? Then this computer is not for you. If you are not going to take advantage of the wireless capability of the computer, you're happy with your SPG, you're happy with your shear water that is wired, and you just cannot imagine trusting anything wireless, then don't buy a Halcyon. Personally, and I think Halcyon would agree with me, don't invest in it, because the best experience with this computer is to leverage all of those features that Halcyon works so hard to launch and introduce into the market. I think they shine because those features are available, and I think everyone considering buying a flagship, very capable computer should definitely consider Halcyon very, very strongly. Now, during this video, I've made mention multiple times to my review of the Garmin X50i, which again is the flagship computer. Let me turn it on so I can show you if the battery's not dead. Is the flagship computer from Garmin, still alive. And I'm going to leave it right here. Go check out my X50i review. Not great. Perhaps my last review from a Garmin computer, since Woody says that there's absolutely no chance they'll send me another one. I hope Garmin proves them wrong. Come up with a new version, better version, addressing my criticism. and send me one. I'll review it. We'll see you guys on the next one.